Hello and welcome to Guildball Informer. I'm James from Yggdrasil Painting Studios, and this time we've got something completely different. It's at the table, I guess. I thought I would do a brief tour of what passes for the studio, which is a desk in my living room. But as you can see, there's a whole lot of stuff going on, a whole load of mess, basically. Um, Here's the view out of my window. Lovely London. Um, anyway, enough of that. Let's get down to it. So, what can you see? Well, at the moment, in front of you is a union commission that I'm working on. A whole load of models. We'll go through those in a minute. There's also something really worth looking at is the wet palette. Now, this is something a lot of top painters talk about, but it's really simple to do, and I really do recommend. I have to say, in my own sort of journey to be a better painter, this was probably the my first step. All it is, as you can see, it's a sponge. You can even use some folds of J cloth or something like that. But I find a sponge gives a nice flat surface when you don't have bits of rubbish underneath it. And this is just plain old baking paper. I prefer the white baking paper to the brown. We're talking about Sainsbury's here. Wherever you are, they might be formulated differently, but for me, this is what works. From Sainsbury's, which is my local shop. Brushes. At the moment, I am trying out the broken toed brushes, Kolinsky Sable, which come highly recommended. This is what is this? This is a size 1. Can we focus on it? And if we compare it to a Winsor & Newton Series 7, which is my brush of choice, size 1. Sorry, the purpose of this video is not to review products, but I thought while we're going through it, you can see, I hope, that it is longer and thinner than the one from Winsor & Newton. I'm liking them so far. I might sort of give you a bit more of an update later on those. But generally, I use cheapo Pro Art synthetic brushes for mixing paints and things like that. These are sort of use and abuse. They're not very expensive. If you want something in between the expensive Kolinsky Sable brushes, which I do recommend if you're a halfway decent painter, I like these. These are also Pro Art. That the lettering is rubbed off. That's not very helpful. If I remember rightly, these are they're a synthetic sable blend. Anyway, enough of brushes. We've got various tools. You can see I'm an extremely tidy painter. That's for the airbrush. Various sculpting tools, paintbrushes, etc. Good old PVA glue. This, I could marry this. It's super glue accelerant. It's wonderful stuff. Paint-wise, I tend to use Vallejo mostly just because I like the dropper bottles. There are other brands out there to use, and I've got a variety of Vallejo Model Air, Vallejo Model, Vallejo Game Color, and some of the new Game Air. I don't particularly favour any of them over the other. They're good for different jobs. So let's have a look at the miniatures. What have we got? There are a few non-Guildball models here as well, but in varying stages of completion. You can see we've got a few black hearts there, avarice and greeds hanging about. I tend to mount my models on corks while I'm painting them. I find them easier to handle, except for the big guys, which it's pretty difficult to do. Then we've got Fangtooth. He's getting near completion. We need to do some definition on the skin tones. You can see if we take him and put him in the light, you can see we've got some nice sort of heavy rust on him there. Oh, that's better. That's better. So he's work in progress. We need to highlight the plasters and then put a little bit of definition in the skin tone with some shadows and highlights. Who else have we got? We've got a disembodied Blackheart head. That's for the retail pose. We have a couple of hemlocks. She's quite a fun model to paint with the leaves dotted around her. That is Gutter. Needs her hair doing. All of these need the faces doing. Is that Decimate? It's not a model I own, so I'm not too sure, but I think that's a Decimate. All of these have got a fair bit of work to do still on them, but just gives you an idea they're getting there. Mist, without the extra bits. I find extra bits, you can see here, those are Mist's extra tassels and Blackheart's sword. It is a good deal easier to glue that and to mount those things up separately and assemble them afterwards, but do make sure you dry fit them first. Snakeskin, quite pleased with how the cloak's looking. There, obviously there are some areas there which need tidying up with the highlights. I've actually been using masking fluid to airbrush the basic highlights, and then you go in afterwards with a brush to define them properly. The non-Guildball models, these are from these are actually my models from a long out-of-print board game called Oko, as a sort of Japanese-French, but set in Japan, well, set in a fantasy version of Japan comic book, and a board game which came without miniatures, but they sculpted some of the miniatures afterwards. Then we've got, in fact, he's finished now, little Redbox Games dwarf, which I have magnetised so that you can actually use him in a game as well. And actually, I think he started off with an axe rather than a hammer. That is work in progress on my my Alchemist's Guild. That's for me. Wow, yes, I do get to paint my own model sometimes. And we've got a Galadriel. We have a number of Galadriels and a number of Arwyns kicking around. In fact, I can show you those now. The Galadriels are on display bases. One of those is going to be given to charity, or at least go in a charity raffle or auction, a sort of thing. And we've got some Arwyns. Why do one when you can do three? And you might have seen these already. These are my scoreboards that I have sculpted. You can see they're all magnetised. Try and get all the labels straightened out, but these all come off. You've got magnets underneath and magnetic strips, and they all come with the kit, as well as the MDF base and what have you. Here's a half painted one ready to go. What else do we have? In fact, got a VW camper van, which is going to be used on a post-apocalyptic project I'm working on at the moment. We have more crap because I'm not a very tidy person. Oh yeah, this is great stuff. Vallejo model putty. I use this for gap filling quite a lot, and then just I tidy it up with a wet brush after it started to dry a little bit. I find it much easier to use than green stuff if the job is simple. Over here we've got a job lot of bases. Obviously these are glued but not yet painted. I find it helpful to do these up in big batches. We've also got a couple of balls, and I'm mounted up but not yet started painting Mortician's Team. They're for a customer who'd actually already assembled and primed the models, so I just had to do the bases on those various. Oh, this is worth looking at. If you don't have one of these, this is a great tool if you're trying to understand colour theory. If you flip it over, it talks about, and these you can, if you go to an art shop, you can buy them for about £6 or something like that. You can buy them, I think, at £2.95 delivered from Amazon, certainly in the UK. Talking about exciting subjects like split complementary, triad, tetrad colour schemes. There's lots of information on these. I think every artist should own one of these unless you know it all off by heart already, in which case you don't need my advice. Various other bits and pieces over here. These are Vallejo liquid gold paints. They're excellent, a bit tricky to use. You need to dilute them with alcohol, which is a faff, but in my opinion well worth it. Then up here, because nothing other, there's a Saruman painted but not based. And up here some more. So here we have some fishermen who are in the very, very early stages of being done. We've got some bases here which have just been base coated, primed and base coated. Answers on a postcard. There are no prizes for guessing which team these are going to be for. What else have we got? This is basically the dumping zone. This guy is another Occo model. Got a couple of, the light up here isn't very good because we're getting a lot of backlight. Couple of Gandalfs, a work in progress fisherman's goal, various crazy post-apocalyptic things like I dub this the Helicraptor. It's completely scratch built from junk. Tester's dull coat, which I used to use a lot of. I actually nowadays don't use it so much. It's fairly toxic stuff, and I find brushing it on doesn't give as good effects as you know, people say. I like this stuff. It's just Army Painter Anti-Shine, it's called, matte varnish. Now what I'd say about this, you know, I've covered it in another video, but this doesn't provide a lot of protection. What it does is it mattes down your models a lot. I would say the best thing to do is gloss varnish and then put this over the top. Preferably airbrush it. You get a very nice finish airbrushing matte varnish. So guys, that's pretty much it. We've got 12 minutes of me waffling on in a completely improvised way. I hope that was sort of vaguely interesting for you. Any questions, please post them below. As always, I'd be happy to help out or answer them. And if you have a suggestion for a video, then as you can probably see by the camera shake, I apologise for that, I am shooting on my mobile phone at the moment at least, and so there's a limit to what I can do tutorial wise. You know, I'd love to do some painting tutorials and, you know, show you you know, edge highlighting and wet blending and those kinds of techniques, but it's just impossible to do. The phone doesn't give me enough control over the focus field. So if you do have any suggestions, then please shoot them my way. I don't promise I can do them, but I'll certainly try. And please also do not forget to like, share and subscribe if you like the video. It's a great help for us. You know, the channel is still in its early stages, and I know Jay and I have discussed, you know, we've got lots of plans for it. So you know, we'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks a lot, guys. See you next time.